Good day, everyone, and welcome to Leadership Synergized, where we have a chance to talk to special people, individuals who come out and serve others and put value where it needs to be placed in our world as they work to expand and multiply leaders and positivity throughout our life and society. And I'm very pleased to bring back a very dear friend of mine, Dr. Randy Mills. Dr. Mills recently wrote a book about Larry Bird's high school days on the basketball court called As If by Magic. Dr. Mills, my friend, welcome back. It's been more than 6 months now. A lot of things have taken place, but it's great to see you, my friend.
Time marches on.
Yes, it does. And for you, I'm sure it's been kind of like a whirlwind.
You know, I could write a book about writing a book and doing book signings because that's a whole nother adventure. You mentioned something that about, and we've been dancing around the changes, but one of the things I got interested in because I was watching that a tape of that Milan game, I got interested in how jump shots developed
Oh,
over time. In fact, I've written several blogs about that and went back and kind of tried to see where that started and how that started. But that last second shot by Plum was almost there with that
yeah,
reach, the extension of the
yeah.
reaching the cookie jar, as Mike Coach Joyce said, reach into the cookie jar, keep that hand out there, where you're and if you want it to go arc, keep it up higher and bring it down if it's a long shot, so you could fine tune it. But it wasn't quite there yet, and yet it was getting ready. It got there pretty quick. He's still pushing it a little bit. So you notice things like that when you start looking at those films. But at some point, the jump shot has not changed. What's changed maybe is how much the body's into it, and the body was always into it because we're doing these 3-point shots.
Yeah.
But anyway, just a side item that became
Well,
fascinating to me.
well, what you're referencing really is the 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 shift from the true set shot to jump shot, right? And you kind of had the two tied together a little bit, right? In
Yes,
that
absolutely.
sequence.
Yeah. Well, I think also you had the two-handed jump
Yeah.
shot, which helped. You just put the one hand and you saw that in some of the old pictures that was going on. So anyway, it would be interesting to know where that got nailed. I remember in my own development. So I went to this little tiny grade school. I think we had 8 in our graduating class. And then when I went to high school, that was the big town, about 600 people. Oh my gosh, there's 100 people in that high school. That's that's so big. To give you some frame of reference. But my little grade school, we won one game when I played my 8th grade year, and that was against a little Catholic school there in Mount Vernon that didn't have an outdoor court, and we won by 2 points. So I go to this high school, and the coach sees my potential. In fact, he saw it in my 8th grade when I go see my brother play freshman basketball, junior varsity basketball. I go to the practices, and he saw how I was pretty big, and he brought me down. And at that point in time, he told me to keep coming to practice. He brought in a young man who graduated from the high school that was playing junior college basketball, and he had a really good jump shot. And he worked with me how to shoot a jump shot and how to make pivot moves and things like that. But what a blessing! What I later wrote a blog about him and his life, and somebody told me later on. He said, he helped people at the junior community colleges too that wanted to make the team. He just liked to help people learn how to shoot a jump shot. Well, I've spent a lot of my time working with my grandkids on how to shoot a jump shot, and that's been really fun for me to do. I don't know if they probably got tired of hearing me say, reach into the cookie jar, but there's been that.
Do we even have cookie jars on the shelves anymore?
Oh, there you go. Our sayings no longer fit the reality of life, do they? So
Yeah, we could do a video podcast and just a session conversing on those things, Dr. Mills,
yeah,
the terminology where we lose our grandkids or lose the other generations at in those settings. But hey, as we wrap up our time together, I really appreciate you sharing, and it's been great to reminisce a lot, right? And
yes,
you kind of reach our point of life, so to speak. It's fun to reminisce and reflect, and you know. As you said, we danced around some things. It's okay to have our own personal views. Again, I mentioned my golden era of baseball and basketball. It's hard for me to watch an NBA game today. It's rare that I do, but I would rather watch reruns of Michael, Magic, and Larry and those teams
Yeah.
playing, or Bill Russell and Bob Cousy playing. That's okay. Today's game connects with the younger generations and with others in that setting. But look,
Whether whether they know it or not.
whether they know it or not, the people you and I remember and people before them have paved the way for the game as it is today in that regard, for them to enjoy today's game.
It takes us back to the Larry Bird book I wrote, because that was one of the things I discovered I needed to touch upon. I compared Larry and his breakout year as the tip of an iceberg. And
Yeah.
then I looked at the iceberg, what was underneath the water, what kinds of things historically happened that Larry wasn't probably ever aware of, but nevertheless was there. I think I called them like ghosts.
Yeah.
You know, whether bidden or unbidden was one of the chapters in my book, which is kind of a Jung always said that about God's presence. He said, bidden or unbidden, he's there. You know, you can,
Yeah.
you can do whatever you want with that. But
Whether
some
you
of these,
want whether you want him to be or not at times, right?
yes, yes.
In that setting. So as we wrap up our time together, what's next with the book? Where do you go from here? We're talking spring 25. You've had more than 6 months with the book being out, or right at 6 months, done all the book signings. What's next with As If by Magic and Dr. Randy Mills?
Well, I got to back up a little bit on that, because you look at sales, which is what it's really about now, though it's not important to me. Really isn't, but I love just getting it out there and talking to people about it. But around Christmas Eve, there was an interview on the one of the Indianapolis television stations, and I can go to Amazon and see where the book ranks, and boy, we got a big pop out of that. So that was probably the high point of sales up to that point. I suspect the book's in its third printing now, maybe.
Hmm.
So they're selling through the printings, which is good news. And then I got another pop in January when the Indy Star did a really nice piece on me. And so these podcasts, when they go out, Tom Roach has been putting out some things on the internet that I've seen pops when he puts things out. So I'm hoping this California talk that guy sends out to a lot of places. I hope to break into the Boston uh, era, and that should bring some big pops. But anytime I do a book signing, that gets me a little bit of that pop. So I'm going to continue doing book signings. I'm going to be doing one in Princeton. I want to do one in Vincennes. Got one in Jasper coming up next week again. And so I'm looking at, I want to do one in Washington. I want to do one in Bedford and Mitchell, several places like that. The Legends, are you familiar with the Legends meeting? I
Yes.
think I invited you to
Yeah.
that. And you're invited again this year. I'll probably do a presentation and book signing there.
Oh, nice.
So it's all about things have slowed down. And the nice thing about it is I can enjoy it. When I went to Paoli the other day, I got there at 4 o'clock and I sat there and I thought, nobody's going to show up. So people start trickling in. And as they find out about it, they go out, hey, there's this guy who's talking about Larry Gordon when he played against Paoli. So they start coming in. I had some great conversations. I saw some of my old students from Bedford that I had at Oakland City College that I weight trained that played basketball. I gave a talk for the Historical Society that evening, and I thought I might sell 2 books. Well, I sold more books than I in the place yet there. So you never know what you're going to run into. But the stories were that were shared were just priceless, just like we're doing now. So that's the fun thing.
Well, my friend, I'm proud of you, and I'm so happy the success. And it's really great to look at success beyond just the transactional dollar bill aspect. And I know that's where you are in your life, and it's all about paying it forward by giving back to what you've been
Yes.
blessed with and the skill set you have. The book is an excellent read, and it's certainly for those of us that were around just a bit, even if it was watching Larry play on TV during his 1980s seasons with the Celtics or 1990s, even watching the Pacers when he coached there. It's just great to have been able to follow the story from beginning until now and reliving a lot of it. And you've brought that back to life for a lot of us. And from the bottom of my heart, I appreciate you and I thank you for all you do. And I look forward to catching up with you again in the very near future.
Okay, sounds great, Kevin. Let's do this again.
God bless you, my brother. I love you, and keep at it. And thank you all for joining Dr. Mills and I on this episode of Leadership Synergized. May your day be filled with love, God's grace, and guidance. Thank you.